Okay, so welcome to Vanessa's Rant, where I discuss different issues and topics that I see, hear, or experience that really bother me because they're not really biblically, factually, or historically correct. So this video blogs my own personal opinions on public topics and do not reflect the beliefs or teachings of any other person or organization. All facts presented have been researched thoroughly by many avenues and are not randomly spewed from the top of my head. For the record, I am a follower of the Messiah Jesus Christ and his teachings, and I do not belong to any certain type of denomination. Your opinions are welcomed in response to this blog, but please listen to the entire commentary and receive the entire point that I'm making without picking and choosing individual comments, taking them out of context, and sending me a long letter of why you're mad at one comment out of the whole entire video. So I will not make any responses to those types of comments. I also will not argue the validity of the Word of God, so do not even waste your breath. Either you believe or you don't. It's as simple as that. So any questions and legitimate comments are always welcome. But with that, here's my topic for today, first of many. So today I was reading this article in a magazine that I choose not to mention, with a comment that was made by a celebrity, which I choose not to mention, that really bothered me as an African American Christian. So I'm going to read it in two parts because I believe they're two separate issues that need to be addressed separately. So the first part of the comment was that she said, "I believe every American should be allowed the same rights and civil liberties without legalizing same-sex marriage. Most of the time you cannot share the same health benefits, you're not considered next of kin, and you're not granted the same securities as a heterosexual couple." So that part, as far as the civil liberties and things like that, that part I really didn't have an issue with. I choose not to mix law and civil issues with my religious or beliefs or my racial heritage other than African American history. But what really bothered me, especially in Black History Month, is that she continued saying, how is this different than having someone sit in the back of the bus because of their skin color? So that's what actually got upset, and I was like, well, you know, if you don't understand why it's different, maybe there's other people who don't understand why it's different. So I guess it's up to me to address those. So the first obvious difference is that sexual behavior is a choice, and it's not, and your race is not a choice. Now, clearly your race is determined by the race of your parents. It's genetic. Two African Americans will not make a Caucasian kid. A Mexican and an Asian will not make an African American kid. Contrary to that, there is not any type of definitive scientific evidence to confirm genetic relevance to being a homosexual. Most people like to quote this study that was by this guy named Simon LeVay in 1991, where he noted a difference in brain structure when he evaluated 35 men, 19 of which were homosexual and 16 were heterosexual. So I guess during the study he noticed that there was a part of the brain called the hypothalamus. If I said that correctly, I'm not a geneticist, so but he said it was generally larger in heterosexual men versus homosexual men. So naturally, when this posted, the media and the LGBT, if you don't know what that means it means lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. This splashed all over the media, the news, the papers, but the one thing that they neglected to say was that he did give a disclaimer in regards to the study that he made, and I quote, "It is important to stress what I didn't find. I did not prove that homosexuality is genetic. I did not show that gay men are born that way, nor did I locate a gay center of the brain." End quote. He also stated in his study that he doesn't know when the difference is developed. He would also like to he also pointed out that there were some issues in the fact that with the study, some of the subjects had severe medical disorders that would affect the brain compositions, as well as also in recent studies it has been found that sexual experiences can alter the chemical imbalances of the brain as well, and therefore alter that part of the brain. So in conclusion to that study, which a lot of people like to rely on, it was deemed inconclusive as not a definitive way to confirm the study of genetic homosexuality scientifically. So pretty much basically the point of that is that, you know, people believe that they're born that way, but there's no proof that you're born that way. However, you can prove why someone is born African American. It's not a choice. Pretty much the point is that you can find former homosexuals, but you'll never find a former African American. Another point that I wanted to make too is that homosexuals or homosexuality is not an identity or a class, but it's a behavior. So homosexuals are not a class of people just like heterosexuals are not a class of people. We are women and we're men. We're not gays and straights. Our sexual preferences, they don't determine the cars or the houses we can afford or choose to drive, the schools we fit into or the clothes that we wear. They don't determine our heritage and where we come from. The only way that your sexual orientation is actually distinguished is by the way you flaunt it or whether you choose to share it. So what you do in the bedroom is between you and Jesus Christ. And if you never decide to share your personal preferences with me, I would never know whether or not you are gay or heterosexual. There are so many people who are heterosexual that may display traits of the opposite sex, but their sexual preferences will never be confirmed until they actually tell you. There are people who operate and work as drag queens that live heterosexual lives and have spouses of the opposite sex. So there really is, it really is more so of a behavior, not a type of class. The issue that I have with comparing racism and homosexuality is that, if you haven't figured it out from everything I've said already, is that there seems to be an agenda behind this. The homosexual community would like to be portrayed as victims who are denied civil rights, like black people were, and still are in certain situations, thus making the unsuspecting public think that those who are opposed to their political agenda are discriminated against them rather than their behavior, and that they are opposed to fairness in itself, which is absurd. So we shouldn't classify people by their sexual, we shouldn't classify people by their sexual desires. Because if we do, then when we talk about fairness, if you want to say being fair, then we would have to consider not only homosexuality, but we would have to consider the desires of other special marriage rights as well. So why not polygamy? Why not incest? Why not bestiality? Why not adult minor marriages? Why these other types of relationships that are considered taboo or not okay, that people look at and say are behavioral issues, if we are to classify people by their sexual desires, then they would be able to have those rights too as well. Really the only common thing between skin color and sexual preferences are that they're both really non-issues when it comes to the law. The law, as far as like government, should not really care about your skin or what you do behind your bedroom door. Your education should not matter about your skin color or what you do behind your bedroom door. The only concerns should be with the law is about your behavior. So for me, all I care is if you can marry whoever you want, but what the law, religion aside or beliefs aside, you can marry whoever you want, but what the law is concerned with regarding same-sex marriage is that it's a functional community building behavior that is beneficial to the community as a whole. So at this point, I'm going to shed a little light on me personally before I continue with the remainder of the comment that I read today and express how I feel on that, because really I haven't spoken anything about my Christian beliefs as far as this particular topic. I am not a homosexual. However, I have family members and friends who are. I do love them dearly. I love them to death. I support their businesses. I'm there when they need me. I hang out with them frequently. So my comments are in no way, quote unquote, homophobic, as people would like to say anytime you say something opposing to the homosexual agenda. I am not afraid of anybody who's a homosexual. I love all people, and I do my best to be indifferent to their personal choices. Now, in continuing in the article that I read,